They called it a restructuring. That's the word HR used when they brought me into the conference room on a Thursday afternoon in September. Organizational restructuring to better align with evolving market dynamics. Corporate language designed to make it sound strategic, inevitable, impersonal. Not about me, not about the 23 years I'd given the company, just business. The HR director, a woman named Stephanie who was maybe 35, who I'd helped train when she started 5 years ago, sat across from me with a folder and an expression of practiced sympathy. Linda, as part of our restructuring, your position is being eliminated. We're consolidating the marketing department, and unfortunately, your role won't exist in the new structure. My position was being eliminated. Not me, my position, as if those were separable things, as if 23 years of institutional knowledge and relationships and successful campaigns could be cleanly excised from the organizational body without consequence. Is this performance related? I asked. My voice was steady, professional. Years of corporate training had taught me how to maintain composure even when my world was ending. Not at all. Your performance reviews have consistently been excellent. This is purely a structural decision. Are other people in marketing being let go? Stephanie hesitated. You're the only one in the marketing department affected by this round. The only one. I was 52 years old. The oldest person in the marketing department by at least a decade. And I was the only one being eliminated. The math wasn't complicated. They offered me a severance package, 12 weeks of pay, continued health insurance through the end of the year, and outplacement services, which meant access to a website with resume templates and interview tips. 23 years reduced to 12 weeks of salary and some generic career advice. I signed the papers, cleaned out my desk, carried a box of personal items to my car, while former colleagues avoided eye contact or offered sympathetic smiles that didn't reach their eyes. Drove home to my house in suburban Philadelphia and sat in the driveway for 20 minutes before I could make myself go inside. My name is Linda Torres. I'm 53 now, but I was 52 when I lost my job, when I discovered that being experienced and accomplished and reliable doesn't matter if you're also old. Old in a youth-obsessed industry. Old in a culture that treats anyone over 45 like they're 1 foot out the door. Old in a world where digital native has become code for young, and where every job posting asks for fresh perspectives and innovative thinking, as if those qualities evaporate the moment you turn 50. I didn't panic immediately. I had savings, not a lot, but enough to get by for a few months if I was careful. I had a solid resume, good references, a network built over 2 decades. I'd find something. Maybe even something better. That's what everyone said. This could be a blessing in disguise. Doors close so better ones can open. You'll land on your feet? I started applying to jobs the following week, updated my resume, refreshed my LinkedIn profile, reached out to contacts. I targeted marketing manager positions similar to what I'd been doing, mid-level roles at established companies where my experience would be valued. Sent out maybe 30 applications in the first 2 weeks, got 0 responses. I expanded my search, applied to senior manager roles, director roles, thinking maybe I'd been undervaluing myself. Applied to smaller companies, startups, nonprofits. Sent out 50 more applications over the next month. 3 responses, all rejections. Thank you for your interest, but we've decided to move forward with other candidates. By November, I'd sent 127 applications. I got maybe 15 responses, 12 rejections, 3 interviews. The interviews were worse than the rejections. The first one was at a tech company in King of Prussia, marketing manager position, exactly in line with my experience. The hiring manager was a man named Brad, maybe 32, wearing a hoodie and sneakers to what I'd assumed was a professional interview. He looked at my resume, looked at me, and I watched something shift in his expression. So, 23 years at your previous company. That's a long time. I'm very loyal. I believe in building deep institutional knowledge, and we're looking for someone who's adaptable. Tech moves fast. We need people who can keep up with emerging platforms and trends. I've worked extensively with digital marketing, social media campaigns, SEO, content strategy. What's your experience with TikTok marketing? I've researched the platform, but we didn't use it at my previous company. The demographic didn't align with, right, we're really focused on platforms like TikTok and Instagram Reels, reaching Gen Z audiences. We need someone who lives in that space. I understood what he was saying, what he meant. Someone younger, someone who didn't have to research TikTok because they'd been using it since it launched, someone who wouldn't remind him that he'd be 52 someday too. I'm a quick learner, I said, hating how defensive I sounded. I've adapted to countless platform changes over my career. Remember when social media didn't exist? I learned Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. It's not just about learning. It's about instinct, native understanding. Native. There was that word. Digital native. As if being born after 1985 gave you some inherent wisdom about marketing that couldn't be learned. I didn't get the job. The rejection email came the next day. While your experience is impressive, we've decided to move forward with a candidate who's a better cultural fit. Cultural fit, the most insidious phrase in modern hiring. It meant whatever the company wanted it to mean. Too old, too expensive, too experienced, too female, too anything that made them uncomfortable, and it was legally unassailable. The second interview was at a pharmaceutical company, marketing director role. I was excited. This was my industry, my expertise. The interview panel was 3 people. I was older than all of them combined. They asked good questions. I gave good answers. Talked about campaigns I'd led, results I'd achieved, teams I'd built. I could see them taking notes, nodding. It was going well. Then the youngest one, a woman named Ashley, maybe 27, asked, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" It's a standard question. I'd asked it myself when I'd been on the other side of the table, but suddenly I understood the trap. If I said I'd still be working, climbing higher, I'd seem unrealistic. Who stays at one company that long anymore? If I said I'd be retired or semi-retired, I'd seem like I wasn't committed long term. I see myself contributing meaningfully to an organization where my experience adds value, I said carefully. I have at least 15 more working years, and I want to spend them somewhere I can make an impact. They smiled, thanked me for my time. I never heard back. Not even a rejection email. Just silence. The third interview was at a marketing agency, account manager position, a step down from what I'd been doing, but I was getting desperate. The interview was with the agency founder, a man named Tyler who was 34 and had started the company 6 years ago. He spent the first 10 minutes talking about the agency's vibe, casual dress code, open office plan, mandatory Friday happy hours, annual team trips to places like Austin and Denver. "We're like a family here," he said. "Everyone hangs out outside of work. We do escape rooms and bowling and karaoke. The team dynamic is really important." I smiled and nodded, thought about my own family, my daughter Emma, who was 29, my son Michael, who was 26, thought about how I could be Tyler's mother, wondered if he was imagining me at karaoke night, if that image made him uncomfortable. "You have great experience," he said eventually. "But I'll be honest, we're looking for someone who can grow with the company long term. Someone who will be here for your long-term employee, someone in their 20s or 30s, will probably leave in 18 months for a better offer, or because they want to travel, or go to grad school, or have a quarter-life crisis. Who's actually the better investment? The person with decades of proven reliability, or the person whose average job tenure is 2 years? Tyler blinked. That's a fair point. I'm not asking you to take a chance on me. I'm not asking for special consideration. I'm asking you to evaluate me based on my qualifications and what I can deliver, not on assumptions about my age. He nodded slowly. I appreciate your directness. I didn't get that job either, but I also didn't apologize for what I'd said. I was done apologizing for being experienced. By December, I'd sent 183 applications, 8 interviews, 0 offers. My severance was running out. My savings were dwindling. I started looking at positions below my level, assistant manager roles, coordinator positions, anything in marketing that would pay the bills. Those were worse. Hiring managers would look at my resume and say things like, "You're overqualified," or "We're worried you'd be bored," or "We can't meet your salary expectations," which was code for, "We can't afford you, and you'll leave as soon as you find something better, so why should we invest in training you?" I started removing experience from my resume, took off my earliest jobs, changed my graduation date to make me look younger. Felt disgusting doing it, but didn't know what else to try. It didn't work. Hiring managers weren't stupid. They could do math, and even if I fudged the dates, I couldn't hide the gray in my hair, the lines on my face, the way I talked about back when instead of going forward. My daughter Emma came to visit in January. She was 29, Working in tech in San Francisco, thriving. She'd gotten 3 promotions in 5 years, made more money than I'd ever made, had recruiters reaching out to her constantly on LinkedIn. She found me at the kitchen table with my laptop, scanning job listings, trying to figure out which positions I hadn't applied to yet. "Mom, how's the job search going?" "Fine," I lied. "Have you gotten any offers?" "Not yet, but I have some promising leads." Another lie. Emma sat down across from me. "Mom, be honest. How bad is it?" I looked at my daughter, at her concern and her youth and the future that stretched out before her, full of opportunities that were no longer available to me, and I started crying. Not gentle tears, ugly, exhausted sobbing. 4 months of rejection and humiliation and fear pouring out. "I can't get hired," I said, when I could speak. "I've sent out over 200 applications. I've had maybe 10 interviews. No one wants to hire me because I'm too old." "They're not allowed to discriminate based on age. That's illegal." "They don't say it's about age. They say I'm overqualified or not the right cultural fit or they went with someone else. But I know. I can see it in their faces when I walk into interviews. I watch them mentally calculate my age, see them decide I'm not worth the risk." Emma was quiet for a moment. "Have you considered, I don't know, trying something different?" "Like what?" "I don't know. Consulting? Freelancing? Starting your own thing?" "I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm a marketing manager. I'm good at working for companies, building campaigns, managing teams. That's what I do." "But what if that's not available anymore? What if the market's changed and you need to change with it?" I stared at her. "You sound like every interviewer I've talked to." "The market's changed. We need fresh perspectives. We're looking for innovative thinking. It's all code for you're old." "Maybe, but also maybe they're right that things have changed. Not that you're incapable, but that the way you've always worked doesn't exist anymore. So what am I supposed to do? I'm 52. I have 15 more years before retirement. I need income. I need health insurance. I stopped, took a breath. I need to feel like I have value, like I'm not just obsolete." Emma reached across the table, took my hand. "You're not obsolete, but you might need to redefine what success looks like." I didn't want to hear it. Didn't want to admit that maybe the career I'd built, the path I'd followed, had led to a dead end. That maybe I'd spent 23 years investing in a model that no longer wanted me. But I also couldn't ignore reality. It was January. I'd been unemployed for 4 months. My savings were nearly gone. I needed income, and I wasn't getting it through traditional employment. I started researching freelance marketing consulting. It felt like admitting defeat. Consultants were what you became when you couldn't get hired. But maybe Emma was right. Maybe the market had changed. I built a basic website, created a LinkedIn profile emphasizing consulting services rather than employment, reached out to former colleagues and contacts, letting them know I was available for project-based work. Got one small project in February, a former vendor who needed help with a product launch campaign. 2 weeks of work, $3,000. Not enough to live on, but something. Got another in March, a startup that needed marketing strategy but couldn't afford a full-time hire. 4 weeks, $6,000. By April, I had 3 steady clients and enough income to cover my mortgage and bills. Not what I'd been making before, not secure, but survivable. And something else was happening. I was working on projects I found interesting, making decisions without layers of approval, setting my own hours. I wasn't building someone else's brand anymore. I was building my own practice, but I was also alone. No team, no office, no colleagues to brainstorm with or celebrate wins with. I worked from my home office, talking to clients via Zoom, feeling the isolation press in during long days. The LinkedIn posts were the worst. I'd scroll through and see former colleagues posting about new jobs, promotions, exciting opportunities. See people younger than me posting, grateful to announce I've started a new position as marketing director at, with hundreds of congratulations in the comments. I'd see the 27-year-old who'd gotten the job I'd interviewed for posting, "Thank you to the amazing team at company for taking a chance on me." And I'd feel the rage, white hot and impotent. They didn't take a chance on her. They took the safe bet. Young, inexpensive, moldable. She didn't represent their own mortality the way I did. I had to stop reading LinkedIn. It was poison. Every post a reminder of what I'd lost, what I'd been denied access to. My son Michael called in May. He was 26. working in finance in New York. Mom, I heard about a marketing manager position at my company. Want me to pass your resume along? What's the age range of the marketing department? Pause. I don't know. Mostly younger, I think. Why? Because I'm tired of being rejected for my age. I'm tired of interviewing with people who could be my children and watching them decide I'm not worth hiring. Mom, you don't know that's why. I do know. I've been doing this for 8 months now. I've sent 247 applications. I've had 19 interviews, 0 offers. And I've watched less qualified candidates get hired for roles I was overqualified for. So yes, Michael, I know why. He was quiet. What are you going to do? I don't know. Keep freelancing, I guess. Build something that doesn't require anyone else to validate my worth. It wasn't the answer he wanted. It wasn't the answer I wanted, but it was the answer I had. I kept building the consulting practice through the summer and fall, slowly, carefully, one client at a time. By August, I had 6 steady clients and was making about 70% of my former salary. By October, I was matching it, but the insecurity never left. Every month, I worried a client would drop me. Every project I worried I'd fail to deliver. There was no safety net, no guaranteed paycheck, no benefits package, just me and my skills and the constant hustle for the next project. A former colleague reached out in November. We'd worked together for 15 years. She was still at the company, had been promoted to marketing director, the position that would have been mine if they'd promoted from within instead of eliminating my role. Linda, I'm so sorry about what happened. It wasn't right. It's corporate politics. I understand. Do you? Because I'm not sure I do. They let go the most experienced person on the team and then spent 6 months struggling to replicate what you'd been doing. Your institutional knowledge, your relationships. They didn't realize how much they were losing until it was gone. Did they try to hire me back? They can't. It would be admitting the layoff was a mistake, but they hired 2 junior marketers to try to cover what you'd been doing. Both in their 20s, both struggling. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt tired. It doesn't matter now. I'm doing something different. Are you happy? Was I happy? I was surviving. I was solvent. I was working, but happy. I'm learning to redefine success, I said. I'm learning that my value doesn't depend on whether a corporation wants to employ me. That's very zen. It's very necessary, she laughed, then quieter. I'm 51. I wonder when it'll happen to me. Probably sooner than you think. We ended the call, and I sat in my home office, the spare bedroom I'd converted, with my laptop and files and coffee mug, and thought about all the women like me. 50-something, experienced, accomplished, invisible, pushed out of corporations that had benefited from their labor for decades, forced to reinvent themselves or accept obsolescence. I thought about the system that created this. The youth obsession, the equation of innovation with age, the way experience became a liability instead of an asset, the way cultural fit allowed discrimination to hide behind plausible deniability. And I thought about my daughter, Emma, 29 now, thriving in her career. What would happen to her in 20 years? Would she face the same walls? Would she be deemed too old, too expensive, not the right fit? Probably, unless something changed. I started writing about it, blog posts on my website about ageism in corporate America, about the false dichotomy between experience and innovation, about the way companies waste institutional knowledge by pushing out older workers and then spending months trying to reconstruct what they'd lost. The post got attention. Other women started reaching out. Similar stories, similar struggles. We formed an informal support network, shared job leads, commiserated about rejections, celebrated when someone landed a client or a contract. I started offering returnship consulting, helping women over 50 who'd been pushed out of traditional employment transition to freelance or consulting work, teaching them what I'd learned, how to value their experience, how to market themselves, how to build something independent of corporate validation. It wasn't what I'd planned, wasn't the career trajectory I'd imagined when I'd started 23 years ago, but it was meaningful, and it was mine. I'm 53 now, 1 year since I was laid off. I make about the same money I made before, but without benefits, without security, without the comfort of a steady paycheck. I work harder, longer hours, more hustle, but I also work on my terms. I choose my clients. I set my rates. I don't have to sit through pointless meetings or navigate office politics or pretend to be enthusiastic about team-building exercises. I don't have to watch younger colleagues get opportunities I'm denied. I don't have to smile through interviews where people half my age tell me I'm not the right fit. I don't know if this is success. It doesn't look like what I thought success would look like at 53. I thought I'd be a director by now, maybe a VP. Thought I'd be financially secure, planning retirement, coasting on decades of achievement. Instead, I'm hustling like I'm 30, building something from scratch, proving my value project by project. It's exhausting. It's uncertain. It's nothing like what I planned. But it's also honest. I'm not invisible anymore. I'm not waiting for someone else to validate my worth. I'm not sitting through interviews where I watch people calculate my age and decide I'm not worth the risk. I'm building something, and maybe that's enough. My daughter Emma asked me recently if I was glad I got laid off, if I thought it was a blessing in disguise like everyone had said. No, I told her honestly. It wasn't a blessing. It was a trauma. It destroyed my sense of professional identity. It cost me savings and security and years of my life I'll never get back. But you seem happier now. More yourself. I'm more myself because I have to be. I don't have the option of hiding behind a corporate identity anymore. I had to figure out who I was when that was stripped away. But that doesn't make what happened okay. What would you tell your younger self? If you could go back? I thought about it. About my younger self, starting out in marketing 30 years ago, full of ambition and belief that hard work and loyalty would be rewarded. I'd tell her that corporations don't care about you. They'll use you as long as you're profitable and discard you the moment you're not. I'd tell her to build something of her own from the beginning, something that doesn't depend on someone else deciding you're valuable. That's pretty cynical. It's pretty realistic. Emma was quiet. Then, I'm going to remember that, when I'm your age, when they try to push me out. You'll probably be running the company by then, or I'll be building my own thing, like you. I hope she's right. I hope by the time Emma is 53, things have changed. I hope ageism is recognized and addressed. I hope experience is valued instead of discarded. I hope women don't have to spend their 50s proving they're still relevant, but I'm not counting on it. So I'm building something now, not just for me, but for all the women like me, the ones who are too old to hire, but too young to retire, the ones with decades of experience that no one wants to pay for, the ones who've been deemed not the right cultural fit because they remind younger workers of their own future. We're building our own table. And we're not apologizing for taking up space at it. My name is Linda Torres. I'm 53 years old. I was laid off after 23 years of loyal service. I sent 247 job applications and got 0 offers. I was told I was overqualified, too experienced, not the right cultural fit, and I built something anyway. Not what I planned, not what I imagined, but something that's mine, something that doesn't require anyone else to validate my worth. At 52, I was too old to hire but too young to retire. At 53, I'm learning that maybe I never needed to be hired in the first place. And maybe that's the real lesson, that your value doesn't depend on whether a corporation wants you, that experience and wisdom and decades of knowledge are assets, not liabilities, that being pushed out can be the beginning of something better, if you're willing to build it yourself. It's not easy. It's not secure. It's not what I was promised when I spent decades being loyal to an employer. But it's honest, and it's mine, and that I'm learning might be enough. If you've faced ageism in your career, or if you've been pushed out and had to rebuild, I'd love to hear your story in the comments. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is share these experiences, to let others know they're not alone, that the system is broken, but we're not. And if you want more stories about rebuilding after being told you're not valuable anymore, a like or subscribe would be appreciated. Thank you for reading, and for understanding that 52 is not too old. It's just the beginning of a different chapter.